Welcome to How to Become a Data Analyst Sage with ThoughtSpot. In this video, we're going to focus upon acquisition cohort analysis. The objective of acquisition cohort analysis is to identify and group customers or users based upon an initial time period. This first interaction may be when they sign up for a service, first purchase date, or potentially when they receive a campaign. We refer to this first date of interaction as the acquisition date and this group of users as a cohort. Once we have identified this time-based cohort, we can then investigate and understand how each of these cohorts behave over subsequent periods of time. So this could be number of weeks, number of months, or years. In ThoughtSpot, this is very simple to set up. We can use a query set to define the acquisition date cohort. As sets are reusable, we can leverage this definition across multiple analytical searches. Importantly, this simplifies our resulting formulas. This pattern can be extended, so we can do further analysis, for example, between the first and second interactions. Query sets also provide the ability to include filtering rules. Therefore, the data analysts can implement quite complex business rules, i.e. the cohort could be based upon a specific region or a specific product category. The second component we need in ThoughtSpot is a simple formula. And we use this to calculate the number of time periods from the acquisition date to the transactional date, i.e. the number of months or number of quarters. So let's understand in ThoughtSpot how we can set this up. So I'm in ThoughtSpot and we have an underlying worksheet that we've selected, Dunder Mifflin Sales. On the left-hand side from the data panel, I can select Add a Query Set. So a query set returns a list of objects. In this regard, I want to return a list of customers. So I can start typing in customer code, and then we want to identify the first purchase date. So this would be the min date. So in this search, we have for each customer, what is their first purchase date? We can provide a name for this set, and we can provide a description. The final step is to define the properties. So we can define our base column, which is the customer code, and our return column will be the minimum date. The final step in this setup is to create the formula to calculate the number of periods between the acquisition date and the transaction date. In this example, I want to calculate the number of months. So we can use the formula diff months, and we select the date field, and the second date is the customer acquisition cohort date. And we want to save this as an attribute. So now that we have set up the components, we can see how we can conduct acquisition cohort analysis in practice. So we've navigated back to ThoughtSpot. We can see we have our column months from acquisition, which was our formula. And then either from the left-hand data panel, we can select the column, or we can type into the search bar. And in this example, I want to count the number of returning customers each month, so a unique count of customer code. Then we can change the chart properties to display this as a pivot table, and I might also want to turn on the heat map mode. So we can see here on the left hand side, this is the cohort. So this is the first month that each of these customers interacted with the company. And then we can see for each subsequent period how many unique customers have returned. If we didn't want to review this via absolute values, we could change this to a percentage. And so now we can see how many customers return each month as a percentage. So if we revert to the raw numbers, we may also want to understand, rather than the count of customers, what is the dollar amount that each of these cohorts is spending with the company. So we can add the amount token to our search, and then we can change our pivot table so that the values reflect total amount and apply. We can see now that for each of these cohorts that started in the first month of acquisition, what is the dollar value that they have spent for subsequent months. If we wanted to change the sort order, we could have a look at that descending.